Hey, welcome everybody to Pro Mindset Podcast. This is your host, Craig Domann. Today we have a gentleman that's gone from homeless to an Ironman, and Roderick Sewell the second. Welcome to Pro Mindset.
Thank you for having me, Craig.
Okay, Roderick, walk us through like the fact that you had a disability when you were born. You had a very tough childhood. Kind of share with us, give us kind of a brief overview of what you've been through.
Yeah, so I was born with missing tibias in both of my legs, and not having that caused my feet to be rotated in a different formation. So the doctors gave my mom two choices. She could put me in a wheelchair and have it so that I could still be mobile and live a life as someone who is a wheelchair user, or they can have an amputation. For my mom, an amputation was still, especially in the 90s, early 90s, I was born in 1992, an amputation was still kind of new. Nobody was really going in for that. And if you heard about it, it was somebody through military, or they had diabetes, or some kind of accident. So you didn't hear about a willingly going in for prosthetics and amputation. But the doctors told her, technology is coming along. He might be able to grow up, be one of the few kids that can grow up on prosthetics. Sure enough, she prayed on it. And for babies, I think it takes about a year before you're able to amputate. They have to wait until their knee bone is fully grown and developed. And that's why when they're babies, they can't stand up, then they're wobbly, then they can step, because their knee is formed. So at a year was when my mom decided, let's get his legs amputated. Let's give him this life of living life as an amputee with prosthetic. And hardest thing she could have did, but the best thing she could have did for me. It's truly changed my life, and the people I've met, the things I've gotten to do. The part that excites me is the way it's affected other people's lives just from her choice. Is pretty remarkable.
Oh, you're a double amputee. Are you above the knees or below the knees?
Double above, yes, sir.
Above the knees. And so you're the first bilateral amputee to ever compete in the Ironman, or to finish it, maybe. Is that true?
The World Championships, yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So and you don't know this, but I know you do. What's the difference between your training regimen and how much harder is it for you to do the things that you need to do that a able, leg person doesn't have to think about?
Mm-hmm.
What's the biggest difference? What's the biggest contrast?
I think, and it's funny, I was just talking to a friend of mine yesterday about what are those numbers, will be the exact, if I'm riding my hand cycle and he's riding his bike and we're going side by side, would our numbers be relatively the same, or is there what is the contrast, So there is for every level of amputation, let's say single, below knee, above knee, double below or above, or even at the hip, there's different level of percentages of how much more effort that person has to put forth. I don't remember exactly the number for a double above knee amputee when it comes to somebody of a able-bodied form, but it is obviously a significant number though. For me, I think I had to be really heavy on nutrition and eating the right food so that I could recover properly. And also I think I took my recovery process very seriously, in that I would always after a workout eat the proper foods to help with the recovery. Like usually I would have a heavy salad, some type of protein inside, and then a salad there. I would start my mornings with fruit. And this was when I was training for the Ironman, and I would through the week do a better job of, let me go stretch, let me go do the ice bath and the steam room and the contrast of that, and just do a better job of taking care of my body, because I am putting more wear and tear on it from just trying to hit that same norm, that same level of an able-bodied individual who is doing this triathlon. But I will say my time doing Paralympic swimming, I gave, I think it was either 13 or 15 years to swimming. That's really where my strength came from, not having that weight bearing on my body or too much pressure, and still allowing me to, if you want to go a little further and build that muscle that way. So I'm very grateful to a sport that, for most people, swimming, the more you do it, you'll lean out, you'll really kind of slim down. For me, the more I did it, is almost, I slimmed down, but my shoulders, my arms, everything got bigger and bigger because I'm putting forth that much more effort. I don't have my kick to help me. So I have to, yes, it's a lot of resistance work, but you're still using a lot to build this, do this resistance. So I'm just grateful. If it wasn't for 15 years of swimming, there's no way I would be able to do an Ironman in 3 months. It's not possible.
Let's go to the Ironman. Why did you do
Mm.
the Ironman? What was your mindset in terms of wanting to prove something to yourself or prove something to somebody else?
Yeah, so I work with a nonprofit called Challenge Athletes Foundation. I have them here on my shirt. And this nonprofit raises money for individuals who have physical disabilities to compete in any form of sport. Wherever there is adaptive, that's where CAF tries to help out. CAF has been a part of triathlon and Ironman since the beginning. The co-founder, Bob Babbitt, he's the co-founder of CAF, and he was at the first Ironman event. And I know it was in the 80s, I believe. I forget the exact date. And so once him and the other co-founders started Challenge Athletes Foundation, they started it to raise money to buy a van for their friend who had got hit by a truck. And it was going to allow him to drive his car by himself, even though he was paralyzed from the neck down. So initially, CEF was started to raise money to get him the van. They did so well that first year. Why don't we just keep this going? Every year now they're bringing in more. Let's help this guy. Let's help this person. Jim McLaren was the man's name who was the first challenged athlete that they wanted to help, their friend, Bob Babbitt's friend. And after they helped him, it got started and it hasn't stopped. They started helping people get equipment for competitions like adaptive wheelchair. In my case, they would help me get running blade, which actually brought one with me. I don't usually have a show and tell, but I figured for you all I would have. This is my running blade. So when I was 10 years old, CAF got me my first pair. And with this running blade, you can see it's like a J shape, depending on which style you get, but it's kind of like this arc shape form. And there's a pole set to your height that would go here. But insurance doesn't cover this. Insurance considers running a luxury. So they're not going to pay to get you running blades or the labor to get the running blades set up. That's where CAF steps in. They buy the product for you, and then usually they can direct you to a prosthetist that, let's say you have some type of insurance, they can help you with find that prosthetist in your town and make sure that they can set up this prosthetic, this running blade for you. Again, insurance isn't helping. So if it wasn't for CAF, I may not have had the opportunity to run in running legs at all. And I was 10 years old when I got my first pair of running blades. So CAF, I think, was started in 33. See if it was started in 93. So it's just been going up and up from there, helping athletes worldwide. And it's because of them and their ties to triathlon and their ties to Ironman that the way I saw it, I was this kid who got his first pair of running blades and loved it. Not even realizing that in the background, people were raising money at these events, doing these things in the background to help get me these legs so that I can go and live this free life. So when Ironman came to CAF, and me saying that, hey, we have a slot to compete in the Ironman, would you do it? Absolutely. I'm on board because I want as many people as I can to know about the Challenge Athletes Foundation. And in that, they'll see, okay, this is how his life was changed. What can I do to help change that other person's life? And it's such a fun, life-changing foundation where it never gets old. They've been going 30 years now. And to be there to see that person get their first running blade or their first racing chair or get a grant to go compete in a Paralympic event, it's a reminder. It takes me back to when I got my first pair of running blades.
Okay, Roderick, let's go inside your head.
Mm.
Let's not focus on the events. Let's not focus on the organizations. Let's not focus on the equipment.
Mm.
Let's focus on your mind. And how did you, as a young man, deal with the idea that you were different?
Mm.
And in your head, were you different or were you not different?
Mm.
How did you, because what I call it is all of us have an opportunity to play an inside game or an outside game. When you play an outside game, you're looking at your circumstances. You're looking at the cards you were dealt.
Mm.
You're looking at, what opportunities you may get or may not get. And you're influenced by how people look at you, by the opportunities and the doors that open for you or not.
Mm.
But when you play an inside game, to me, that's the real game.
Mm.
That's where you have belief in yourself despite your circumstances. You're not asking why. You're trying to find out, because you have this situation, what is the purpose for you on this planet?
Mm.
Different mindset. Let's go back to when you were a teenager. Did you play an outside game? Did you play an inside game, or did you play both?
I think it was different at a teenage being a teenager versus as a child. As a child, my first memories were me a double above knee amputee. So I'm just developing that way, thinking everything is normal. And then now put me with my family in that dynamic. Some of them met me with my limb and then saw me after I was amputated, but a lot of them only knew me as or with my amputation, especially my close cousins and family members, the younger ones. The older ones saw both sides. So they never treated me that way because once I started to talk and walk and everything, I guess the excitement of, oh, okay, he's going to be okay kind of took over, and let's just help this to flourish, and let him think that he's okay and nothing's wrong and he, can do everything everybody else can. And it forced me to find a way to do everything the way everyone else would, even though I had my own way. Now, fast forward to me as a teenager, now I'm wondering where do I fit in? I'm a piece of me wants to go and do the able-bodied sports and be a normal teenager, but that doesn't work. And then there's the adaptive side where I'm still learning about wheelchair basketball. I'm still learning how to swim properly. And I'll tell you this, at 16, I got a grant from the Paralympic Academy to go watch the 2008 Beijing Games in China. And for me, that completely, I was like, you know what? I don't want to be a normal teenager anymore. If I have to do something extraordinary to be on this level, because there were people my age, 16 and up, that were going to games, and I was like, they dedicated themselves early. And I didn't even learn how to swim until I was 10 years old. They were like, I have a friend of mine, Rudy Garcia Tolson. He's another double above knee amputee who he finished the Ironman in Arizona, became the first bilateral above knee amputee to do so. He attempted Kona, it didn't work out. And so now that was kind of lingering and left room for me to come and complete it. But for him, when he started swimming, which I think gives an advantage in triathlon, he started swimming at 6, and I think he started committed to Paralympic training at like 8 years old. And at the time, Paralympic swimming was still there's room to grow. It was still growing as a sport. And sure enough, 17, he's a resident at the Olympic Training Center, training on the resident swim team. So seeing this, I was like, okay, if I want to make it on that platform, on that level, to see my friend up there get a gold medal, I truly, I can't think like a high schooler, if that makes sense. I had to focus on getting these grades right and look more focused on the future. Do I want to be after high school? Do I want to go to college and compete? And then do I want to go to the Olympic? Because for me, college had to happen. And I think that's where my dreams and the reality kind of met. A piece of me wanted to, after high school, immediately go and train for the Paralympics. My mother, my mentor, my family, because of sport can only take you so far. Everyone said, why don't you go and get your degree first, especially you as a person with a disability, train while you're in college. And then if something happens with the sport, you have something to fall back on. And this is something that's preached to everybody who goes into any kind of high level sport, who gets any type of contract. But specifically in my case, when I'm done, I need something. I need an outlet. There's not going to be a $25 million contract that I can write on. So I need to have something where my degree will take me forward. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful that, I'm a little hard headed, but my mom and my mentor, they made sure to implement that and make sure that I knew college had to happen. So I think because of my dreams, it kind of kept me on you can't, you can't always go out and party. You can't always go and do this high school thing there. This is what you said you wanted to do. And if you want to do this, A, B, and C, this is what it takes. And I think my hardships from my mom and I having hard times in San Diego, her quitting her job so that I can get full coverage on my prosthetics and be able to walk my entire life, a privilege I didn't realize until I got older. And then for us to see the domino effect of now, because my mom quit her job, we have to sell her car. We're now catching the bus and the trolleys to and fro to everywhere we go. Now we have to sell the house. Now we're going apartment to apartment, trying to just make ends meet, to eventually we're ending up homeless and we're just trying to skim by. We're not telling people what's going on. My mom doesn't want people to worry. She also doesn't want people to come and take her child away. So it was like a lot of hardship in early years that when my teenager came around and I had a little bit more stability in my living situation, anything that was hard thrown in my face, oh, okay, if you want to be a Paralympian, this is what you have to do. It was kind of like you stood your ground at a time when you were 10 and under, dealing with something that grown men and women would buckle from, you know? So, and nothing was in my control. So I would tell myself like that set me up for this is now in your fate. And little did I know, similar to my mom, was the same reason why she was able to make these sacrifices and these decisions is because of her hardship growing up in the South. Now when she has me and has to make these tough choices, she had 20, 30 years of tough choices before, you know? So when it came to her child, if he needs this to be an adaptive athlete, if this is what he needs to grow a mindset that he is not necessarily normal, but that with his disability, he can be a productive individual in society. If this being an adaptive athlete will help him with that confidence and everything leading to it, then she did everything she could. Even if she had to work late hours, you know, just anything she could. If she had to call people to come pick me up, she would make sure that I would show up to wheelchair basketball practices, hand cycling practices. Swimming came later. I used to be terrified of the water. And it's weird to say because it feels like a lifetime ago, but I used to hate swimming. All these different things that CAF offered and now an adaptive athlete can learn. She made sure like he needs this. He needs this so that he can grow and again, not view myself as normal, but not view myself as different either.
What is the biggest mental challenge? This is called Pro Mindset.
Mhm.
So it's about mindset. What's the biggest mindset challenge you've had? Maybe in the last few years, not something you had to do when you were 6 or 16. Last few years, make an adjustment to life after sport,
Mhm.
finding your purpose after sport. It's really difficult for a lot of athletes, regardless of the sport, regardless of the age. You know, they could be 20s, 30s, 40s. Making that transition to life after sport. What's been your biggest mental hurdle over the last few years, and how have you overcome it?
Well, so I'm 33 now, and I tell people I really understand why they say male athletes don't hit their peak until 25 to 28 because your mind is now caught up with your body, and instead of this like raw power, you kind of have this refined, you know how to deliver a good blow every one time, you know. Um, and the older I get, the more I'm like, man, my lower back is feeling it from these prosthetics. When I watch people run, I tell myself, I remember when I used to run. I haven't put these running blades on in a long time. It's either swimming or hand cycling. But it's been an adjustment to say 15 years of swimming is done. I'm a swimmer now. I'm no longer a swimmer. And I did, like I said, I told myself, what am I going to do next? And I love that my life has kind of formed its own direction where because of my background, because of my athletic career, what it does when I walk into certain rooms and move through certain places is something that keeps me motivated when I'm home and I'm not around these individuals. For example, during literally a week before COVID popped off, I was in Ethiopia and I was there with a team called Limb Kind Foundation, and they go to make prosthetics for kids in these different countries. And as they're making them, they want to teach them their care, how to use them, how to properly, you know, the maintenance of the prosthetic. And so they'll bring mentors out to show them what it's like living on prosthetic. And the team flew me out. I got to talk to the parents and the kids, and some of them never had prosthetics, you know, and they're teenagers. And that's when it hit me like, I don't know life without my prosthetics. I've never, besides wheelchair basketball, I've never owned a home wheelchair. So the fact that they lived their whole lives as an amputee without prosthetics had me sitting back like, wow, my mom sacrificed, got me my prosthetics, and I've lived my entire life. And even once I was 26 and got off her insurance and got my own, I still, you know, so it was like, wow, I really took that as I didn't even realize that I had it so good, you know? So seeing the parents and like seeing the parents and I'm almost getting like a split second of how my mom felt and me being able to stand there and be like, I know it's hard now, but I'm here to be the visual proof that it's gonna pay off. And to see them just bawl and some of these parents have nothing to give. Like in all honesty, I told one of the moms, this was on a trip we took to Kenya, similar situation. Kenya was last year, Ethiopia was 2020. And if you tell them like, oh, I love your earrings, I love your you know that with your glasses, your shirt, whatever, they'll literally take it off and give it because you came and did something for their family, their kids, their people, and you nothing asked. You're going back home. They can't give you anything. So I learned not to say if I like something because they will, and I'm like, no, 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 I don't want it. I was just saying I like it. But those moments are like they're grounding enough to like everything I went through to be able to stand there with them and say like, oh, it's going to be okay. Like, please don't get tired. Please keep going. When their child's 10 and they're not seeing the results they want to see yet, especially in certain countries where, like in Kenya, I think 80% of their men were unemployed. You know, so it's just a tough situation. So the adjustment now for me is recognizing it was worse when I lived in New York, not worse in a bad way, recognizing what me walking past somebody who might be going through something that feels similar to what they see that I'm going through and learning how to communicate with those people when they're going through that. Because I've had a lot of people just randomly come up to me and start crying, you know, and just tell me like I needed motivation, thank you. And I don't know what they're going through. I have zero clue, you know, but I know I can only imagine because if I saw myself, that's how I would feel. If I saw myself and I went through what I went through and I see that, I'm gonna, keep going, sir. Keep doing what you're doing. You move me today, I hope you do the same, you know? Um, so it's I have the adjustment, and I'm grateful that the adjustment is I help people with their own mindset, you know, and I tell people the point of the Ironman for me was to reignite that flame. If my flame is burning, then I'm sure there's somebody whose flame has been blown out. And it's important to help that person remember, keep going, you know, and sometimes that flame that's reignited, you can't it'll turn into the sun. You know, you never know what that person can become, you know. And so that's what I took the Ironman race at. And then the older I get now, I'm 30, like I said, I'm 33. I'm settling down. My girlfriend and I, we've been together 3 years. I'm getting married next year. And I want to get a homestead. I want to get a small little farm, have my little chickens, my cow. We're thinking about what other animals and call it a day. Like I know that a lot of my life for the next 2 to 3 decades is going to be similar to these trips to Ethiopia and Kenya, doing more for Challenge Athletes Foundation locally in the state. Maybe not competing, but I would still need to show up as a representative. So because I know that I'm still going to be called on to help in some way, shape, or form, I like knowing that I'm going to retreat back to this is your hub. You know, this is where you have the time to recuperate and reignite yourself, where you have that quiet space to just give yourself the space. And I'm thankful for this state of Colorado because it made me like learn what I like, you know, what I appreciate. Being outdoors here is like, oh yeah, this is where you're comfortable.
Yeah, you're in Denver. I'm in Colorado Springs, a beautiful state. In the summer, it's magical because we don't have
Absolutely.
humidity, we don't have bugs, we've got cool evenings,
Mm,
all that stuff's good. Looking back on your competitive career, regardless of whether you're, you have a handicap, you've got prosthetics, what was the biggest like boulder you had to move out of
mm,
your own? What was the
mm,
thing that held you back?
mhm,
Not the world,
mm.
not your physical situation, but what was the thing that you put in front of yourself that it took you some time to figure out that issue was self.
For sure. Absolutely. The biggest one, the absolute biggest one, and I think that's why I had the fear of swimming. Before I even got to swim lessons, I thought that because of my disability, there's no way that I could swim. And it took seeing another double above knee amputee swimming to break that mindset of why would you think that in the first place? You know, what caused me to feel that I couldn't do this? And it was because, and it wasn't necessarily that I was told that I couldn't do a lot of things, but it was just when I would try things, I would learn I couldn't do them like everybody else. And so if I felt that feeling, that meant I can't do it, you know? So swimming was the first hurdle and overcoming that one and seeing what it kind of grew into. Like it was a fear and now that fear has helped my life blossom in such a way. The other one, and this has happened as I got older, I was coaching in New York. I was living at the training center 2017 to 2018. I moved to New York summer 2018. And there I started doing triathlon and swim coaching. And I was so nervous because I thought, even with my, at that point, a decade long of swimming experience, Paralympic swimming, open water swimming, triathlon, I thought that because of my disability, people would be less likely to listen to what I have to say when it comes to swimming. So just applying, at the time I was working at a training studio and I told them about my career And they're like, hey, you should, consider being a swim coach or doing this. And just immediately this anxiety kind of came over and I'm like, oh man, I feel like they're going to be not willing to work with me or wanting to work with me. They're going to want somebody who has legs and is a swim coach. And the complete opposite. I was so busy, so busy. I had my own private clients. I had the triathlon clients, and then I had swim clients at different locations. And I was just like, wow, truly just kind of taking care of myself from only swim coaching from sun up to sundown. And sometimes if things didn't work out and I couldn't meet with somebody, now I have somewhere to work out. Now I can go swim myself. So, and New York is just hard to navigate too. Seeing that, I was just like, okay, I need to have more faith. I need to understand. I need to appreciate the work I put in to reach that level and understand on a resume what that looks like and why somebody would pay a certain amount for that individual. Because I didn't have, because it was Paralympian and not Olympian, I thought, oh, automatically pay decrease, but that's not the case. If anything, me swimming 6,000 miles or 6,000 meters and Michael Phelps swimming 6,000 meters is a big difference. And if we're doing the same amount, who's really working the hardest? No disrespect to him. I met him. He's a fast, great guy. But that was the kind of the sit down I had to have with myself. And thankfully at the time in New York, you can have a lot of time to sit and think. I thought about that and realized, okay, it doesn't have to be um, because of my disability, oh, they won't work with me. It more likely is because of my experience that they're willing. And seeing those two were the biggest hurdles I had the most. My current biggest hurdle, and this one is just scientific, because the older I get, and the percentage that I burn as a double above knee amputee, everything is harder. When I'm walking with my prosthetics, it's a wear on my body. When I'm walking without my prosthetics, I'm now 4 feet tall, and every 2 steps, it might be 6 for me. So it takes me a long time just to get to the bathroom. And because I have to take so many steps, let's say I wake up in the morning, walk to the bathroom, walk back to the bed, my heart rate's up just from taking those steps to get to the back and forth. So knowing that life is just going to be a little bit tougher. And then now here I am. I want to start a family. I want to, my girlfriend and I are going to get married. We want to have kids. We're going to have this farm. And I'm asking myself, is that yet again, is my disability going to be an issue? Because this is something I've never done before. I've never been a husband. I've never had a homestead. I've never been a father. So, and these are the things that I've, in my 30 plus years, have been working to get ready for. And now it's kind of like, of course, that's still the plan, but the fear is, can I handle it? And I use those examples of, yes, you can, to move me through this one.
I can tell you right now, if you can do an Ironman, you ain't gonna have no problem with other stuff.
Okay.
I think when you understand that what you've accomplished, you've had to work harder. You just don't change.
Mhm.
Don't look for easy.
Mhm.
It's only harder for you when you're looking for easy. It's always been harder.
Mhm.
That didn't stop you. That helped you become who you are.
Mhm.
So if you got to take a couple of extra steps to get to the bathroom, so what?
Right.
Right. So, I think the thing, what I'm seeing for your future is that you can show people that might think they have a disability, that there's a possibility.
Mhm.
And disabilities come in all different shapes and sizes.
Mhm.
The physical disabilities we can all see, but there's also mental and spiritual disabilities,
Mhm.
financial disabilities, a lot of different types. Can't always see them.
Mhm.
But I think your mission is to show people that it doesn't matter. There's still a way to get there. You might have to take 2 more steps. You might have to train a little bit harder. Might have to train a little bit differently.
Mhm.
And then the other thing I see is that you need to, and I'm not telling you what to do, but I'm just going to coach you on something here. You need to reframe. You need to reframe how you're seen,
Mhm.
because you see yourself a certain way,
Mhm.
but you may not see yourself the same way other people see you. So when you see yourself as unqualified, other people see you as more than qualified.
Mhm.
So, you got to look at it as, hey, if you've done it and you didn't even have, legs below your knees, people are going to respect you more, not less.
Mhm.
People are going to trust you more, not less,
Mhm.
because they know intuitively wasn't easy. You couldn't take shortcuts. So I think it's a reframe game.
Mhm.
I mean, that's your power, is that you had to do it the hard way and you did it. And that you can show other people that doubt themselves and have fears that they can do it too.
Absolutely.
Okay. We just had Father's Day recently. He said you haven't been a father yet. So let's pretend you got a Roderick the third. And God willing, he has all body parts he's supposed to have.
Mhm.
One of your biggest challenges is going to be when he gets old enough to take you in the driveway and whip your ass basketball or whatever it is. Because I had the same thing and I got all my legs. Yeah, I had the same thing. It happens to everybody. So my question to you is, how are you going to prepare yourself, not your son? How are you going to prepare yourself for those moments where your son's going to look at you and doubt you? Because that's the opportunities you're going to have in the future to show him that he's got it easier than you do, that you've been through hard. Does that
Right.
make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's certain struggles we don't want for him, and because those aren't in place. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, I want to thank you for being on Pro Mindset today. Did you have anything else you wanted to share?
I had, while we were here, I wanted to show you this. So I have this coming out. I have my book coming out August 5th. It's called Iron Will, and I'm actually recording the audio book. I'm finishing recording this Thursday. So
Tell
I
us
think
what
this
it's
is it.
about.
Yeah, Iron Will is just my mother and my journey from her sacrifice to getting my prosthetics to leading up to the Ironman, and just like a victorious ending with that. It's just emotional back and forth of my mom's background, what she went through living in Florida to moving to California, having me, and then the hardships from that time, from me having my disabilities, her sacrifices she had to make, and then meeting Challenge Athletes Foundation and learning about the adaptive athlete world.
Okay. So let's pretend that I get your book and I read it.
Mhm.
How is it going to impact me? How's it going to impact the reader?
I
So
think
you're going to share this story. I get all that. How can I take something? What am I going to get from it that I can apply to my life?
Mhm. I think it's similar to, like you said, I travel a lot and I do a lot of speaking engagements. And when I go to each engagement, I just want to get through to one person minimum. And usually at each engagement, somebody comes up to me and says, "Thank you. Your life is different from mine, but hearing your words help me understand that I just need to buckle down, keep figuring out what I need to do to get to the next step, get to the next thing, get through to the next day, whatever it might be." And once I hear that from that one, even if there are more that feel that way, as long as I heard that one, that means I did a good job. So with this book is the only way I could think of how do I reach multiple people at the same time, giving them, and there's so many different elements in this book. There's not just my side, there's the parent side of sacrificing for a child. Are you willing to give up your home, your livelihood to get your child what they need? Give up everything you worked for your entire life to give your child what they need to live a normal life. And that's, I think, in all honesty, and I've heard this from parents, they would not. So I think there's multiple aspects of the story that'll show people, even with hardships, even with stuff on our shoulders that are feel overbearing or impossible, there is a way. If it's 1 in a million, 1 in a billion, there is one version where we can get through this. And I hope this book, as people read through and things seem like they're impossible, that they see how at that last minute something happened, whether it be from the individual or just through life circumstances, something happened. And as long as you keep going until the end, you never know. And so I hope this book makes people feel like, okay, I'm gonna keep trying. I'm gonna keep going. I'm not gonna let this day determine that the rest of my life is gonna be like this.
Amen. I like it. Well, Roderick, good luck with your book. Good luck with
Thank
your
you.
speaking. Good luck with your organization. And thank you for your story today. Thank you for your transparency and just kind of sharing your journey. And
Thank
thank
you,
you for
Craig.
being on set.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. This is great.
You're welcome. Everybody go out and have a Pro Mindset Day today. And when you feel like you got it tough, remember Roderick, okay? Because he had it hard. You really did. And you figured out how to get past the hard. A lot of us hit hard and we stop. We quit or we don't even start because we're scared of hard. We're scared of failure. Go do it today. Go do your iron will today. Peace out, everybody.
All right.
Hey, it's Craig Domann, the host of Pro Mindset Podcast. I want to thank you for listening or watching today's show. And you can catch us every week on the normal social media platforms like YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and all the listening podcast platforms. I hope you enjoyed today's show. And more importantly, I hope you gained a pro mindset insight. Please be sure to rate and review Pro Mindset Podcast and I look forward to catching up with you on our next show.